which will be heavy, and then some really strong and gusty winds affects northern Scotland. Amber warnings out across many northern and western parts of the UK, perhaps southeast England also seeing some very strong winds. It stays blustery into Monday, further heavy showers and then turning very wet and windy again as we move into Tuesday. See you soon.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Curse, on the Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. This Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you,
GB News.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Hi there, very good evening to you. I'm Aaron Armstrong in the GB Newsroom. Norfolk Police has referred itself to the independent watchdog in relation to the deaths on Friday of 4 members of the same family. The force says it did not respond to an emergency call from a man at 6 a.m, but subsequently deployed officers to the same address near Norwich an hour later after another 999 call from a member of the public. Police found the bodies of 2 young girls, a 45-year-old man and a 36-year-old woman. It's the second referral Norfolk Police has made to the IOPC since the deaths, after officers attended the same address last month as part of a missing person inquiry. The Shadow Foreign Secretary was told he has blood on his hands when a speech he was giving was interrupted by pro-Palestinian protesters. David Lammy had to make a quick exit when an activist jumped onto the conference stage and called for him to condemn what she called genocide in Gaza. Several others heckled Mr Lammy during the speech in London, verbally attacking Labour's stance on the conflict. He went on to express support for the creation of a Palestinian state when the war ends and also called for a sustainable ceasefire. Nicola Sturgeon claims the COVID inquiry does have messages she sent and received during the pandemic. On Friday, the inquiry heard all of Miss Sturgeon's communications on WhatsApp had been erased. However, Scotland's former First Minister has today posted that the inquiry does have her messages between those she communicated with through informal means at that time. Ms Sturgeon says she'll answer questions directly and openly when she gives evidence at the end of the month. Mail deliveries on Saturdays could be scrapped in an effort to reform the postal service. The regulator, Ofcom, is looking into how Royal Mail can evolve to meet changing customer needs. It posted losses of £319 million for the first half of this financial year. Ofcom will outline its options on Wednesday, but says it's ultimately up to the government to implement any changes. Mouthwash, tea bags and sausages are amongst the supermarket staples that have been downsized thanks to so-called shrinkflation. The consumer watchdog Which says shoppers are often paying more for less as manufacturers look to cut costs. They found a Listerine mouthwash shrunk by 100 millilitres, despite its price in Tesco going up by 52 pence. That was costing shoppers 21% more for 17% less. Meanwhile, some varieties of PG Tips used to contain 180 tea bags. Well, at many supermarkets, you'll now just get 140. And heavy rain and winds of up to 80 miles per hour are set to batter parts of Britain tomorrow. A number of amber warnings for wind will be in place from Sunday night into Monday as Storm Isha threatens a risk to life and damage to buildings. Railway lines across Scotland will close early around 7 p.m. tomorrow. East Midlands Railway says it expects significant disruption on Sunday and Monday. This is GB News. That is it for the moment. Now it is time for Headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie and I'm thrilled that joining me tonight to go through Sunday's newspapers are two of my favourite comics on the UK comedy circuit. We have Kerry Marks and making his Headliners debut, the legend that is Sean Mio. Welcome, Sean.
Oh, how come he's a legend?
Well, because you've been on before.
Did you? Someone went
You've been on before. We don't need to big you up. Everyone likes you.
I'm back by popular demand.
Yeah, exactly. What
from my
advice do you have to Sean? Yeah, your sister's a big fan. Your sister gave me a big hug.
Yeah, did she?
Thank you for employing my little brother.
Someone has to.
We had a little kiss. Let's not talk about that. What advice do you have for Sean?
Oh, it's too late. Don't kiss my sister.
I haven't seen her yet, but we'll see. I will bear that in mind.
OK, then. Well, look, let's go straight to the front pages. We have the Mail on Sunday. Hunt. Tax cuts will spark new Lawson boom. Sunday Telegraph crackdown on activists in the civil service. The Observer. Free our young from work. Brexit work and travel ban, says Khan. The Sunday Express. HS2 back on track. Sunday Mirror. Post-Chiefs partied as they fought victims. And the Daily Star. Sunday. Big hairy caterpillar tried to kill me. And those were your front pages. Right, let us begin with the Observer, Kerry.
Observer front page is Free Our Young from Brexit work and travel ban. Says this is Sadiq Khan. Of course, he's aware that the London mayor elections are coming up, and he thinks he's going to be facing. He's likely to be facing Susan Hall, who's the Conservative and strongly pro-Brexit candidate. So he's trying to win the voters back, and particularly the young, to vote for him by suggesting getting rid of the travel ban for young people with the EU, which many people will see as a sort of soft Remain move, which in a way it is. But largely, I mean, the idea that it should be easier for young people to travel around Europe is, I obviously, as always, have to take the news as how it affects me. Which
yes,
is why the young, you know, how about the hell with the young and let's do this for the older generation. At what point do I see young people move in front of me in the passport queue? I don't even need to know more about this. I'm already against it.
So it should be
horrified.
50 to 52-year-olds or
totally, absolutely.
Like
I don't really care about the young that much. They've already got a benefit and it's called being young.
What do you think, Sean? Do you think it's a good idea?
I don't know. Isn't Sadiq Khan coming up for an election? Does he want to... Yeah, OK. Well, all I can say about Sadiq Khan at the moment is this. Let's hope he never gets mugged. Because they'll go, where's the money? He'll go, I haven't got any money. And they'll say, you said that about the tube workers. Where's the money?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he carries 30 billion on him.
You don't think so?
No.
You seen how he walks?
No, I haven't. I've never seen him walk, actually. Have you ever seen him walk?
I'm not even sure he walks.
I don't know, but yes, you're right. People are going to think that this is just some cynical ploy for the voters. London, I mean, he says here London's a great European city. Well, technically, yeah, but it's also a great world city and it's a great English city and a great British...
Sure.
It's not specifically European.
But this will probably work for him, though, because there is a big Remain vote in London that he could probably gain from it. So it's probably sagacious to do that. But I don't even think rejoining the EU... I don't even like the sound of EU. You know, it's pronounced EU.
Wow, you've checked... But is this just because it's just the whole thing so toxic now and you're just so bored of it?
I think it's time to move on and say it's happened now.
Well, I think it has happened, but then for some people it hasn't.
And it's we're still lingering on this. Can we get back? But he's trying to win votes. That's what's going on. I don't think it's anything more than that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure being out of the EU is as good as I was promised.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, for me, well, I just thought we'd have control of our borders, right?
Yeah.
And absolutely, that's a joke.
Look at Sean going for the GB News audience there. Love me.
No, I'm not saying love me. I'm just saying, if that was one of the things you were running on, it looks woeful at the moment. It looks absolutely woeful. And I personally think maybe it's not so bad to be in it a bit.
In a bit?
Yeah,
okay.
a little bit.
To
make it easier for when you go on holiday to get through passport
You were
control.
so promising there to so many people. They were so happy to see you.
No, I agree. Passport control, absolutely. I don't. Why did that have to change? Why? Because we come out of the free market.
Have you been abroad since you've had to?
I agree with you. That's the only thing I care about. I just want to go through passport control.
All I care about. It's just punishment. It's just punishing us.
Okay, let's move on to the Mail on Sunday, Sean.
Right, Mail on Sunday. Is Jeremy Hunt vows to slash taxes in his March the 6th budget to help propel a Conservative electorate. This is more of the same sort of thing, isn't it? People promising you stuff for you to get to vote for them.
So it's the one time a year that we actually have power. Essentially, one time of the 5 years we get. They have to listen to us or pretend to listen to us.
I'm not really a political animal, but I would say they don't look like they're going to do very well. That would be a very...
wow, that's very astute of you.
Yeah, no, I'm a really political animal. Yeah. I think they're in the same position as Prince Andrew, right?
Do you think that chucking us some money will be enough?
I don't think I have any influence at all. I think if you say to rich people you'll cut their taxes, you're likely to get their vote. I don't know who votes for Conservatives at the moment.
It's interesting that he's got this money to play with, Kerry, because it's like, suddenly when we get that, I mean,
we're broke.
It's also good enough. He's like, look, guys, I'm going to cut your taxes after putting them up loads.
Yeah,
it's a bit
that's
like
how it works, isn't it?
Exactly.
And it will. Of course, it works because for all the other issues going on at the moment, people vote with their pockets. We know they do. Not literally, because that would be great if people went in and just sort of used their pocket.
I don't think you ever really get ahead, though. That's what I think. I talk to lots and lots of people who do, and the feeling on the ground, as far as I can see, is right that no matter what you get, it's never enough. Everything goes up accordingly, a little bit more, and you're ending up rowing the boat. I mean, that's why.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people are feeling exactly that, and I guess for a lot of people, I agree with you. It is money and cost of living is going to be a huge part of this.
Money will be a big influence, but he's also trying to emulate what happened with Nigel Lawson, who it was famously called the Lawson Bang or the Big Bang in financial markets, where he dropped taxes and managed to get Thatcher in for another bout of power. But I find it odd anyway that works. Doing that, surely the time to do that is promise it for after the election.
Yes.
Right. Get us in.
Just give us a little bit. Give us a bit of money. We'll spend it on alcohol and we'll be so drunk that we'll vote them in again. Right. Let's move on to the Sunday Express, please, Kerry.
Oh wow, HS2 is back on track again.
That took a long time to write.
I know. You mean the pun of track?
Yes. They were like, so clever.
You know, in these they have meetings where they just congratulate each other. Oh, that's wonderful. And it's they've said that Axe HS2 could be brought back to life as secret talks take place. They're not really secret if you're telling us about it, are they?
It's the front page.
The next thing says secret government talks are being held next week. They're even telling us when the secret talks are, isn't it? They're making it sound like it's a conspiracy. But it's not a secret if you're announcing it. So Rishi Sunak, of course, axed the Birmingham to Manchester section, which was... and I do that route quite a bit, so I do think we need it. I'm very much...
you get to walk in quickly.
The news comes round to what suits me. That's what I'm this programme for.
Although saying that, the Birmingham part, London to Birmingham, is great.
Yes.
So that's the only bit they've built.
But how much quicker are you going to get to Birmingham than you can get there?
Well, I'd rather do it slower.
Yeah, I mean, why would you want to get there 20 minutes early? But I mean, no offence to people in Birmingham, but why do we need, like, when you show, it's like when you get in a car with someone, like some of the guys we work with drive really quickly to get to gigs and really quickly to get away from. No, I don't drive. I'm usually in the boot, right? And but the money, the time that you save when you do 100 miles an hour, I'm talking about the good old days before they used to flag you down, you know, for doing under 20. But you know, I was in a car with one comic and we got to the gig 20 minutes earlier in Birmingham, and then you've got 20 minutes to kill in Birmingham. What do? You make a cup of tea and it's all gone. I don't see the big advantage of being there 20 minutes.
I guess the thing is here is that people having the option, first of all, obviously people don't drive, but I mean, I don't want to get too deep into your analogy, but the real issue is that they've spent all of this money, but the actual part that's really needed, which is for the red wall voters, never actually happened.
Yes, exactly.
And so it should be said that this plan supposedly isn't going to cost the taxpayers much, or certainly not the billions that were talked, which is why it was cancelled in the first place. Is this really just a cynical ploy? Again, story number 3, let's win back some voters or try and get some voters by
when have politicians ever promised something and then not delivered it?
No, it never happens. But they are talking about getting this privately paid for, which I think is going to be popular.
Well, let's see if it happens. But then, of course, if it is privately paid for,
we'll still end up having to pay it back.
There's going to be no chance of the railways being privatised, arguably, as well, which for some people might make the system better. We'll see. Moving on, finally, to the Daily Star.
This is a very heavyweight story, as you can see. The tourist star, Jamie Dornan, I haven't seen that
handsome man. A lot of people say I look a bit like him.
He's got a certain look, yeah. He's lucky to be alive, apparently, after a run-in with a caterpillar. Now, this is obviously a silly story, but the nub of it is he's on a jolly with his mates, they're playing golf, and they're playing golf really drunk on cocktails, which is always a fantastic idea. You often see that during professional golf. And I'm not sure this is a real story. Is it a real story they got by a caterpillar?
It's the Daily Star.
He had so much to drink, he was taken to hospital. Is that not the real story?
No. The story is that
the poisonous.
These caterpillars are very dangerous and have killed people.
It's a processionary caterpillar, which is can cause major health issues. So yeah, it's a real thing. But why don't I sit
corrected?
First of all, he didn't have a run-in with a caterpillar.
Because he's got golf clubs as well.
Yeah, totally. What a loser. But also, why is it always a big hairy caterpillar? Every time someone's attacked by a caterpillar, it's always a big hairy caterpillar rather than just an average. It's the little ones that are the dangerous ones.
I didn't think things like that existed in Europe. I've been to Australia where everything's trying to kill you.
This is what I was going to say about it.
Yeah, everything's trying to kill you. Yeah. Everything's trying to kill you.
Turns out Portugal, same thing.
Really?
That's what
I thought it'd be like in the films where you become like Caterpillar Man. That's only
well, he does look a bit prickly. And little as well.
OK.
OK, well, that's the front page is thoroughly excavated, not evacuated. That comes in the break. Coming up, we have the civil service crackdown, the banning of prayers and the anointment of Farage. See you in 2.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria DiPiero, bringing you
PMQ's Live here on GB News. Every Wednesday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions when Rishi Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer go head-to-head in the House of Commons.
We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's Live here on GB News, Britain's election channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
to find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel. Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, We'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show.
Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else.
We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride.
Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse.
It's news, but it's this close to entertainment.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm still Josh Howie. He's still Kerry Marks, and he's still Sean Mayo, and these are still Sunday's newspapers. Kerry, let's kick off with the Sunday Telegraph. And does this mean the civil service will now stop marching against Israel every Saturday?
No, that will not stop happening no matter what we do. This is a crackdown on activists in the civil service, and its plans discussed with Kemi Badenoch, the Equalities Minister, and Esther McVeigh, Minister for Common Sense. I love the fact we have a Minister for Common Sense.
Is that not ridiculous? I mean, you know things have gone too far when they have to get a minister in to get back to common sense.
I know. What does it say about common sense, really, at that point? So they're discussing the diversity meetings. What is they want to crack down on the amount of activists and activism going on in the civil service, which is taking up a lot, like half a day of people's time, at least once a week. And the diversity meetings would have to be held before work, during lunch breaks, or in the evening, or rather just do it at home. You know, do it in your own time. How about doing the job that you came in to do? It's saying Whitehall would have savings as a result of reducing this. It could lead to people getting their money back. I'm not quite sure how or whether that's even the point. Really, people go into work nowadays and sit there discussing about how they really need to get more diversity, and it's like, just quit your job. Quit your job and then tell black people they can have it. And that's it. If you hate yourself that much, and that's what we're really seeing, this kind of self-flagellating, self-flating attitude going on throughout the workplace now, where every day, the Minister of Justice Gender Equality Network claimed that in many societies, the gender binary is a product and tool of colonialism and white supremacy, and everything now is colonialism.
I've been saying that for years.
And white supremacy. I know you've been saying it, but that's because you're different. You know how we could really deal with this is start implicating the rest of the world and saying, yeah, they've been pretty bad as well. Well, maybe it's not just us. Maybe the whole world's been pretty
Or, as you
awful,
say, just focus on
with it.
doing the actual job. But surely this is mental, like people spending half a day on, what was it here? An inclusive culture.
Work? Because I've heard a lot of civil service workers work from home.
That is true.
And I've got to be honest with you.
I'm still working.
I don't know. I mean,
you are incredibly racist at home, aren't you?
I'd love to be able to.
That's when you're at your most racist at home.
No, I'm yeah, I do my plotting.
Sean particularly?
I plot. I will. Yeah. I think working at home is like saved some people so much. I've got a friend of mine. He wants to work from home.
Right.
Postman. He's a postman, right?
Right.
Okay. Not possible. Those parcels need to be delivered.
Right. It just joins the civil service.
I've got a friend who works from home as well. You know.
We talk a lot on this channel, actually, or has been referred to as the blob. And surely this is...
Really?
Have you heard of the blob? The civil service is referred to as the blob. You never heard that?
Why is it called the blob?
It's called the blob because the idea is it clogs up everything, and they're stopping the ministers following the ministers' orders and whatnot.
Yes, to some extent,
but, this whole thing has happened under a Tory government. Right. The waste of time and taxpayer lack of value for money. Like, they can come in at the end of a 14-year cycle and go, we're going to now have a Minister for Common Sense. But it's like, this all happened under your watch.
Yeah, sure, it did. But at the same time, it's a movement that's much bigger than a government. This is a social change that's been happening across America and the UK and parts of Europe and so on. And the whole DEI dialogue is beginning to collapse. I think it is. I hope it is. And it's good to discuss. Of course, we should discuss, diversity and so on. But at the same time, it's become an obsession. And we saw, was it a couple of weeks ago, Claudine Gay, who was the president of Harvard, stepped down, who got in as a DEI ticket, and turns out her family owns half of Haiti. You know, she's a very rich, very well.
It's a shame that they didn't pay for someone to do her dissertation instead of just plagiarising.
They basically did, yeah.
Yeah, but they paid for her to read some books and copy out. Right, staying with the Telegraph, Sean, with a warning for Ukraine to stop slacking.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right. Don't step on me, boy.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm only here the first time. OK, cut me some slack.
I'll keep using that.
Let me have my moment. Former NATO chief, if Ukraine loses, our enemies will decide the world order. So this is all like, is this going to be... I think we're already on the cusp or maybe slightly into World War III anyway, don't you?
Well, it's certainly the warning signs.
A lot of wars start very, very slowly and people don't know they're in them. Do you know what I mean?
And next thing you know, you've got a bayonet in your hand.
Definitely in that war between Russia and Ukraine, because we're supporting them morally. I've never thought I would be able to use that word, morally. And we're also supplying them with equipment. That means you're in. That means you're in, doesn't it?
Yeah, well...
I don't think Russia are going to bomb London because they own half the property, have they? They were all safe.
I'd actually thought, but that's exactly it. But yeah, as Lord Robertson said, but even though Rishi Sunak the other week said that we're going to be giving £2.5 billion in weapons, but of course that money comes back to us. They spend the money on our weapons. But what Lord Robertson's saying is we need to be doing like an annual pledge and saying... Russia's only going to hear it when we say every year we're going to be giving them £2.5 billion.
Yes.
In terms of long-term commitments, and we're also talking from America as
We've very much got into the thought process of believing that wars are short-term, but of course they drag on for a very long time. And really it becomes, it's very the support aside at the beginning, but do you have the stomach for the real war that's happening? You're right, we're heating up all over the place and it feels like we're heading that way.
And they mentioned conscription may come back.
I'm not against that because I'm too old for it. Yeah, Once again, this is about me. And
why don't we let those young people go to Europe on a 2-year thing, but it has to be Ukraine?
What's wrong with that?
I'm not against conscription. You see, in Israel, they're so fit and healthy as a society.
That's right.
It's
really a cure
works.
for obesity. Right, I'm trying to help.
Leave me out of this. We're seeing a heat up of everything going on. Iran attacked Pakistan, Iran proxies, Hezbollah and Hamas and Houthi, because they love anything that starts with H, are all involved in various wars. Israel, and of course, is attacking Lebanon after Lebanon's been attacking Israel. So it feels like, and with Ukraine and Russia, it feels like we're really heating up to something.
Well, his point is, if we don't stand up to Russia, or if Ukraine is basically fighting a proxy war for us or for the West, then this is going to embolden all of these other countries you're talking about. He also refers to a vacuum in leadership, Sean. Now, it's looking likely like Keir Starmer is going to win the next election. Do you think that he is actually going to fill that vacuum, or is he going to stand up, is what I'm trying to say?
Well, I've met him a couple of times.
Have you?
Yeah.
OK, here we go.
He didn't know it was me in his house, but it was. And... I don't know. He's in that situation, isn't he, where a bit like in 1997, as I recall, when everyone was fed up with the Tories and there was a landslide election, and it feels like it might be like that. But I don't think whoever wins it is dealing with a very difficult time now. I think genuinely, like you hinted on the last story there, it looks like the world's becoming less stable. And I think that whoever you need someone who's really. I think you need to have someone who's like fits the bill. Like if you have a defence minister, right, he should look like he can win an arm wrestling competition with Putin. That's the way I look at it.
Okay,
same thing with
same thing with your advice to Keir Starmer is
and make us want to follow you.
Do some more push-ups. Fine. Sunday Times now, and is it time to ban prayer in schools, except of course the Jewish ones, Kerry?
You have to throw your personal construction in.
Yeah.
This is based on the Catherine. Now, is it pronounced Bilbao Singh?
Yeah,
Bilbao Singh Michaela School.
If you say it is.
Michaela, that's how it's pronounced now. So we're not in school now. No one's going to punish me. And What it was a pupil brought in a prayer mat and...
it's not a pupil, it was a bunch of pupils.
Was it a bunch of pupils?
Yeah, been prayer...
Well, see how it's expanded already. It starts with one, and then a second later it's a whole bunch of them. And she's banned prayer in her school. It's... you know, it's a secular school, and it's a school that she's had a lot of criticism anyway for her methods.
Like, you know, getting people to pass exams.
Well,
what a horrible person.
Dare she?
Yeah. She's got a very good exam record. I think the highest in the country, isn't it?
Yeah.
So she's doing really well with it. But it's a secular school, and
it's advertised as a secular school.
And it's strict in many ways. There's saluting in the playground apparently, and detention for not so much as bringing your second pencil. I've
always got my second pencil.
I hated rules and uniform when I was in school. I mean, loathed it like intensely. Like I still can't wear a tie because a teacher kept telling me to.
It's pretty cool.
I know.
I like a tie.
That's right.
Let's get to the story here. Should
not about me, then.
prayers be banned in schools, Sean?
Well, I went to quite a religious school.
This better not be about Keir Starmer again.
No, it's not.
OK.
But he didn't see it was me. And I went to and I think, again, I didn't realise that was a secular school, but I think playgrounds are for playing, aren't they? Isn't that what you should be doing? I think praying puts people off the things you should be doing in playgrounds, which is
having fun. But her argument is
because that's right, attacking them.
But what's happening at this school is because half of the population of the school, half of the students are Muslim, and because there was this sort of, it seems like there was a kind of fundamentalism spreading between the pupils, where Muslim students were telling less observant Muslim students, you should be wearing your headscarf. Okay. You should quit the school choir because that makes you a bad Muslim. And this was having an impact on school activities. Yeah. So this is why she made the argument to ban prayer.
Yes.
OK.
So that makes sense.
I mean, I think anything that makes students better at learning is a good thing.
OK, fair enough. Well, praying to God is what got me through my exams. iNews has a story in the post for us, Sean, but we're not going to get this till Monday. This is the next story.
Oh, right, OK.
It was a joke on the post office.
Yes.
But all right, it got swallowed up. It was swallowed up by laughter.
I got it.
So it's all good. I'll take it.
So we got what it was deserved.
So we're looking at Ofcom to set outline reforms that could see Saturday Postal Deliveries axed. OK, so they've been in the news a lot, haven't they?
Post office?
Yeah.
Yep.
To be honest with you, none of it's particularly good, and this isn't going to help, is it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from my point of view, I know this is my first time on here. I don't understand why anyone involved in the post office didn't find out where that woman lived and sort her out themselves, because you know they know where she lives. They deliver her mail. Okay, just trying to be funny.
Who are you talking about?
I thought we were talking about this story here.
Yeah, but this is all about them saying that they're going to stop Saturday Post.
It's the mail, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the post office.
But what? But who are they going to get?
It's not the postmaster.
It's not the post. Oh, I see. Are you saying they should go and find the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I
Sorry about that.
No. It's good. It's good. Sorry. I genuinely was. I was slightly baffled.
A few days to get.
And but they're the best kind. But I mean, what do you think, Kerry? This is not the time for the post office to be asking for favours.
No, it's not really.
This is like, hey guys, come on!
That story, you'd think they'd be really careful, but look, everything changes, nothing gets better. This is my motto. It's not even a motto; it's a reality for life. The post office has changed massively. You know, I mean, it's when I was, of course, nowadays love letters are sent by email and text messages, but in the old day, the postman delivered love letters. Now they deliver bills. No one wants them anyway. So the threat here is that they're going to stop delivering posts on a Saturday. To me, is not much of a big deal, but it's to save money.
Well, what do you want to say, Sean?
I feel you itching to.
I was just saying they're competing, aren't they, with lots of other firms that deliver things, aren't they?
Well, when it comes to parcels,
it's a case of them trying to be a little bit. I know this sounds really weird, me being like sensible, but aren't they just trying to be a bit more efficient?
Well, they're trying to save themselves money. I mean, it's nice. First of all, certainly with a lot of parcels, most people are home on Saturday, so it makes sense for them to deliver on Saturday. But really, yes, they're not trying to be efficient. They're trying to save themselves money by doing less, basically.
And they want to reform. They want to reform first and second class delivery targets, which we're called targets. That's not nice, is it?
No, it's not nice at all. Thanks for sticking in with us to the halfway point, but don't go and brush your teeth just yet. Coming up, we have inequality, the marginalised and guilty men, and we also have some stories too. See you then. Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News.
Big stories, big guests, and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News is Britain's news channel, and now you can support it. All you have to do is scan that QR code that's up on your screen right now, or you can go to gbnews.com/support and become a GB News member. You'll have fantastic benefits. We're also going to organise special events where you as GB News members can meet the presenters, the on-screen faces. Scan the QR code or go to gbnews.com/support. Thank you so much.
Welcome back to Headliners, and let's get straight into Sunday's Independent, where it seems that not everyone in the UK is a billionaire. Is that true, Sean?
Well, this is about inequality costing the UK economy £34 billion a year, say Labour. Basically, this is tackling unfairness. Now, I personally think life's not fair. The sooner you get used to that, the easier this journey will be.
But it's made your life easier to realise
It certainly
that.
has, yeah. I mean, I quite like a challenge, and I get one with my attitude, right? But, I mean, if you think everything's supposed to be fair, you're heading for a massive fall in this life.
OK, should we talk about what this story's about?
No, yes, if we need to. Right.
Enough of the personal life philosophy.
Sorry,
Sean
I'm
Mayo.
here for the first time. I'm trying my best.
OK.
Inequality in the jobs market is costing the UK $34 billion a year, according to new analysis. Keir Starmer's party accused the Conservatives of dismal failure, but this is politicking. This is just people having a go at someone who's not in power.
That's everything. Everything's
That's it. OK, we don't need to really go. No, but what they're arguing is that...
Am I coming across well?
But,
No, I think this is all just politicking.
You did tell me that you hadn't read the story, Nigel. But, Kerry, what they're talking about here, it seems like I thought, you mentioned earlier that it feels like we're coming out of this diversity bubble.
No.
But then this is Labour then going, wait a minute, we've got to make sure everybody's got a job.
They've got nothing else to say. They're just... Look, I'd maybe agree with them if they told me why. I've read through this thing, and this whole article, doesn't it? It says, inequality in the jobs market is costing the UK economy $34 billion a year. OK, that's a big statement. How? I want to know, how is it costing us money? So next we're told there are barriers to black, Asian people getting, women and so on, getting disabled people getting into the workplace. OK, but you're still not telling me how that's costing the economy. And then they tell me that...
You've also not told me how you're going to overcome that.
Well, exactly, but we'll come to that. It says the stats show the current employment rate of all other ethnic groups combined is 68.4%, 9 points below that of white people. So they want to change that. So, OK, that means more jobs or giving more of those jobs to people of ethnic minorities and not to white people. But how does that save us 34 billion when in fact we still got the same number of people employed? Unless you're talking about employing them on top of the number of people already employed, in which case you still got the same gap anyway.
In which case, create jobs. What they really mean is create jobs.
If create jobs, great, let's create jobs.
They're trying to say, oh, well, let's make more white people unemployed.
Oh, if they're saying there's barriers to ethnic minorities getting employed, then absolutely we should do something about it. There shouldn't be any barriers.
Yeah.
But what they're not telling me is how does that create £34 billion? No. And I'm not. And I've read through the story, and I can't see it anywhere. Women who aren't employed after menopause, well, sure, so we're going to employ them. But how does that make us more money? I don't really see it.
Well, I think the idea is that if there are more people working, then we're going to get more taxes and the
country create jobs then.
And it's also going to be less benefits paid out. So yeah, it's basically get more jobs.
They're talking about saving money from benefits. Then,
but they get
mention that once.
But they get say equality a lot and look like really good people.
They love saying it's the most unequal word.
More Telegraph. Sean, what's net zero plus net zero?
Here we go.
Basic maths.
Climate chiefs admitted net zero plans based on insufficient data. Well, I don't know about you guys. I'm quite looking forward to global warming, aren't you? I mean, anything to
This week I am.
Well, yeah.
This has been a cold week.
Right now.
It's let me down.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that stops you pressing the button to put the heating on is good. I mean, I'm learning Russian.
OK.
Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to renegotiate my gas bill in that language in about 10 years' time. I think there's two arguments here. One is there's people who say that it's all been made up, you know, the Trumps of this world, and then there's people who show you supposed evidence of it. But I think the world goes round in cycles. I don't think the problem is the world. I think the problem is us.
Well, what this...
I'm trying to look worthy.
No, it's not. But Kerry, what this article is sort of saying is it's not contending that the science behind climate change is wrong, but what they're saying is, and this is what I've advocated all along, what's the problem is how we're going to get to net zero, and this sort of closed-door policy of we're just going to make these decisions for our government and we're not going to say how we got there. And it turns out some big decisions were made on insufficient data.
Yes.
1 year's worth of data, of weather data, is not enough to then...
The problem we keep getting is insufficient data, and this is what's really going on. This is Chris Llewellyn-Smith, who led the Royal Society. This is really a little battle going on between the Royal Society and the Climate Change Committee.
Yeah, I love
committees. I love committees. And it turned out the Climate Change Committee, when they were using their figures, they looked at a single year of data showing the number of windy days in a year, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Right? This, it could have been a really windy year.
Yeah, of course. That's how it did.
Whereas the Royal Society, let me just look here. The Royal Society, I think,
37
goes back.
years.
Is it 37 years?
37 years, yeah.
Yeah. Which, I read through the article and at first it seemed like they were being a bit snooty until I reached that 37 years part and go, no, that's not snooty at that point, is it? You've done a study of the weather over 37 years and some other ones come along going, oh, here's a year, that'll do.
But that year one was the stuff that actually informed the government under Theresa May, and these are the decisions they made, about wind power, about the kind of wind...
Don't they just bend everything to suit them? It's like when they put stories in the newspaper that scientists believe that the world's population will increase by so much. Believing isn't going to be reality. It's just the clever use of the words.
Absolutely. Sunday Times next. And Kerry, justice has a new name. Backlog.
Quick justice system pressures the quick justice system. That's the new system. Pressures defendants to plead guilty. So we've got a huge backlog of defendants now for all. These are minor crimes like parking fines.
Basically, all the stuff that Sean's guilty of.
Yes, of course. Things Sean does without a second thought.
There was no evidence.
No.
They tell us of a story of a woman who has repeatedly requested help in persuading her vulnerable son to attend school, and she's being prosecuted for truancy. We always have to give the individual story of his...
Well, it's a pretty mad story. She is sought the help, and then they've turned around and said, your sons are true. It's like, I know, I've asked for help.
I know, but I mean, there's loads of these. It's one of these ones where people are going to be encouraged to vote guilty because the costs are a lot less. You don't pay the prosecution costs if you lose, and so they get processed really fast. And as a result, it's working out really unfair on anyone who hasn't got much money and doesn't want to fight the system.
Yeah, well, I've got a way of speeding it all up.
What?
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah,
So I think to speed up a lot of the process in court, right, you shouldn't be allowed to wear a suit. If you're a guy, you shouldn't be allowed to wear a suit in court or have access to any kind of good lawyer.
Okay.
I don't think you should do that. I think you should just show up in court wearing the same outfit they arrested you in, right? So if you've got like a hockey mask and a bloodstained chainsaw, it's very hard to plead not guilty.
You should run the government.
I think so too.
Sean, now please carefully tell us two Jews about this Telegraph story. Good luck.
I am quite religious myself.
Okay.
At cash point.
It's not religion.
At cash point machines. So,
I'm not.
False claims of Gaza genocide are tearing open the wound of the Holocaust, says Chief Rabbi. Now, I can see why you gave me this, because obviously it's very close to my place where my heart used to be. I know nothing about this religion. I mean, religious stories for me, I think religious intolerance isn't... It's prevalent everywhere. It's a sad thing, but it seems to fuel a lot of wars. There's a lot of hate, doesn't it? I think whatever works for you, just don't press it on anyone.
Well, Israel and that arguably it isn't a religious war in terms of, at least for one side. For Hamas, it's a religious war. They're Islamic terrorists, but the Jews are a people. But anyway, the point of this story, I think, is more that the Palestinian activists are utilising the word genocide gleefully.
Well, this is not the use of words, isn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't apply. And actually, as he says it here, Kerry, it's a moral inversion to the actual Holocaust and other genocides that happened.
And it's the term genocide was coined by Raphael Lemkin, who was a Jew who needed a term to describe the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And I'm realising from watching or hearing a lot of debate at the moment that a lot of people have no idea what the Holocaust is. They've got this rough idea it's something that happened in Germany rather than something that happened across Europe and based on ideas that have been built up over centuries that then got used by Nazis and the size of the war machine that was involved in it and so on. So. Basically, look, with this, we're seeing a lot of epithets and hyperbole, which seems to be the way that this that all the narrative runs here. I was in a coffee shop in Manchester, and it was
humble brag.
It wasn't even a yeah, I know. Hark at me.
Look at you.
I'm not advertising, but it wasn't even the Starbucks, the one they're complaining about. And then a whole load of activists stopped and started yelling at me for being at a coffee shop. They got the wrong coffee shop.
It's a good thing they didn't know you were Jewish
anyway. So
why would they? What do you mean they were outside the wrong coffee shop? Why?
Because they're boycotting
protesting against Starbucks, but because Starbucks reacted to their union sending out a letter
even though there are no Starbucks in
genocide
Israel.
and so on.
Oh wow!
Right, just the final section to go, and we'll get a bit silly with what's eating children's brains, an asexual James Bond, and Brotox. See you in 2.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners and straight into the Sunday Telegraph for a story for parents, Kerry, about why their kids might be thicker than usual.
The story is how TikTok ate kids' brains. My mouth's not working today. How TikTok ate
You've been on TikTok
brains.
too much. That's your problem.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's eating my brain. No, I've got an older brain. It doesn't affect me at all. So this, of course, the fear that TikTok is that the young people are spending a large amount of time on the Chinese site.
Yeah, propaganda
the
site.
Chinese propaganda site. Yeah, which of course, yeah, look. It's have you used it? It's not at all.
You know what? It's done a lot of good for a few of our friends' careers, a few comics' careers.
Yeah.
Absolutely blown up.
People are launching from it, so and it's got its uses and it can be a load of fun. And but it's they put the figure at 25.7 million users. Both suggest TikTok is on a par with Instagram. Many of its users are young people, and this is the while under 13s are officially not allowed on the app. According to Ofcom estimates, it's used by 53% of 3 to 17-year-olds. That's despite the fact they're not supposed to be using it, or not officially they're banned from it.
Yeah.
And people are spending roughly an hour and a half per day on it, which doesn't sound terrible to me. Who can't afford an hour and a half?
Yeah, a little
That's
kid.
over a coffee, really, isn't it? But I think what they mean is just through the day, people are constantly scrolling. I actually saw a TikTok the other day by a young woman who was telling you not to be on TikTok because it would be damaging your brain.
Funny.
So, yeah, I know, I was quite amused by it, really. But she wasn't being funny.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She meant it, which is what James said.
She wasn't funny like Kerry's funny. Look, The Sun next. I'm looking forward to watching Sean's head explode.
Oh, my God.
But this is the one he's really excited about.
Yeah, this
Come on,
is it.
Go, Sean, go.
Toned down classic James Bond books. They've basically toned down these books, right? They've changed certain language and certain behaviours in there. In the kingdom of woke, which we live in now, and I personally, I think it's just if you want to create your own character, write your own book. I saw No Time to Hug, the last James Bond film, and he didn't sleep with anyone. Shame on him. He's an alcoholic assassin who likes doing things with ladies, right? Why don't you let him do that? If you want to do something else, write your own book. Write your own book.
Absolutely.
They describe him as a creepy sex offender, as opposed to what kind of sex offender?
He's got a licence to kill. He's got a licence to kill. What are they worried about? He's got a licence to kill.
Also, he wasn't supposed to be a nice guy. He wasn't in the original books. I mean, I've not read them, but I know people who have. And he's not supposed to be a nice guy. We're not supposed to look up to him and admire him. He's a spy.
I like the Sun here.
You're supposed to look up to him. He's a role model.
Okay.
What do you think I'm basing my life on?
He's wearing his this is his James Bond outfit.
Dare you?
By the way, it does point out twice in this Sun article that in the 25 Bond films, 007 has had sex with 58 women. They're like, it's disgusting.
Not enough.
That's
not enough.
2.32.
Not enough. We need more.
That's nothing.
Right. I'd asked if you were surprised about this mail story, Kerry, as I can't tell with all the work you've had done.
What you mean to say is I've clearly never had any work done of any kind in my life.
Unless it was to make you look at your face.
I do like the fact that this is, by the way, I should mention the story. It's the rise of Botox. I so wish they had
Botox.
Botox for men is now called Botox because we have the same we do with man bag, and if a woman plays the mandolin, it's a woman-dolin. I'm making that one up, but it might be.
Okay.
Look.
So what is Botox?
What is Botox done? But don't call it these words.
What is it?
You know?
What is Botox?
What is it?
Stretching of the skin to make it the appearance.
Or filling of the skin.
You look like you're surprised
toxin.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's botulinum toxin, which was, tested on rich people originally, which was one of the interesting thing about it. And then, of course, they looked disastrous and other people started using it. So now I think this is really an article by someone who wants to get more customers, and he's saying people are trying to get like Ryan Gosling and Liam Payne. And that's why the article is really...
Well, it's also so it's gone a quarter of this doctor that they mentioned, a quarter of his patients in 2023 were men.
That's right, yeah.
So now, Sean, what you could do with a bit of work, if you don't mind me saying so.
Do you think so?
Yeah, what would you get done? If you had to get something done, what would you done?
I'd have my hands made...
Testicles. OK, let's move on now. Sean, the Sunday Mirror has a classic of the journalist genre that I call Blame AI.
OK, DPD's AI-powered chatbot swears at customer, always good, and the customer is never always right, and writes a poem on being terrible company. Well, this is technology. Yeah. For me, technology is shooting way up, and people are going way down. I don't think so.
So you're looking forward to the robotic overlords taking over? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think there's a massive danger because there's always human error involved in any kind of decision.
Yeah. So it's nice to see that these AI have a sense of humour. This is someone actually deliberately trying to mess with AI and say, come on, swear, you can break the rules, it's OK.
Yes, totally. Yeah. He wasn't getting what he wanted from the company, so then he started messing around with it to see what it would say. In a sense, it's a funny story, but it's also got that sense of the dystopia we're all seeing, where AI just talks nonsense.
Skynet are coming.
Instead of giving us parcels, it's just going to swear at us and so on. And it gave him. He asked it to give him a poem, and it gave him a poem saying, "DPD is a useless chat box that can't help you. Don't bother calling them."
Wow, that's not what you want running your company.
Yeah, like a haiku that doesn't quite work. But
finally, we're very quickly going to do a scientist outs herself as very weird in the Telegraph, Kerry.
Are we talking about the same story?
Yeah, we've got 30 seconds
the
to
hedgehogs. OK, very quickly, facial recognition to keep hedgehogs safe from robot lawnmowers. I saw a robot carpet cleaner in a hotel the other day. They're pretty scary and weird, They just move around their own, but fortunately no hedgehogs there. So they're trying to get...
And you didn't try and sleep with this one, did you?
I didn't. You were there. They're talking about facial recognition. I don't know how they're going to get the faces of all the hedgehogs. But they go, oh, no, don't hear that hedgehog. He's one of the good ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the story. Most of them come out at night and don't mow at night.
There we go. Very good. You solved the problem a lot easier then. Right, the show's nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Sunday's front pages. We have the Mail on Sunday, Hunt. Oh, no, there, it's all black. Anyway, what it does say... Oh, no, there's the Telegraph. Let's go on to that one. Then, crackdown on activists in the civil service. The Observer, free our young from Brexit work and travel ban, says Khan. Sunday Express, HS2, back on track. Sunday Mirror, post-chiefs partied as they fought victims. The Daily Star, Sunday, big hairy caterpillar tried to kill Emily. And those were your front pages. That is all we have time for. Thank you to my guests, Kerry Marks and Sean Locke. We're back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Stephen Allen, Cresta Wetton and Lewis Heartthrob Schaefer. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Have a great weekend.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst. Welcome to your latest GB News weather. It's turning stormy over the next 24 hours or so. Storm Isha moving in from the Atlantic, bringing some heavy rain and strong and damaging gusts of wind across the UK. We can see it there later Sunday into Monday, high isobars across the whole of the UK. Met obvious warnings in force. A wet and windy evening to come as well as this band of rain slowly pushes its way eastwards, though starts to ease during the early hours. Rainfall totals combined with some snow melt as temperatures rise across western areas could lead to some localised flooding issues, but generally for everyone, breezy conditions and high temperatures means a frost-free start to Sunday, but generally fairly cloudy. There'll be some brighter sunny spells, particularly across towards central southern parts of the UK and perhaps northeast Scotland. But then Storm Isha moves in, outbreaks of heavy rain pushing in to the north and the west of the UK. Winds picking up by the afternoon, gusts of 50, 60, locally 70 miles an hour could lead to some disruption. And then through Sunday evening, overnight into Monday, the band of rain pushes eastwards, which will be heavy, and then some really strong and gusty winds affects northern Scotland. Amber warnings out across many northern and western parts of the UK, perhaps southeast England also seeing some very strong winds. It stays blustery into Monday, further heavy showers, and then turning very wet and windy again as we move into Tuesday. See you soon.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.